Hello, captains, and welcome back to another Infinite Galaxy video. This is Dragothian here, and we're going to do a flagship masterclass, I think, or mastery series, or whatever you want to call it. I'll make a playlist for it inside of the Infinite Galaxy setup that we've got on this channel. I wanted to showcase my main and first legendary ship first, because one, it served me very well in two wars that we've had on this Nebula already. And two, it's the one I'm the most familiar with, and I can give you some really good insight onto this flagship and what it can do for you, both in PvP and in PvE. I can also recommend which captain you should choose, which is a new system, a new feature inside of Infinite Galaxy, which I think is pretty sweet. And then also just what you should be looking at from a ship perspective and what it can do for you on the field. So, first off, just looking at this is what I was able to receive from one of the original events that started on the Nebula whenever we first opened up the game. And it was the first legendary ship I got. It looked really cool, I thought. And just looking at the different flagship skills, which we're about to go through, it seemed to suit my playstyle well. Now, as I've evolved it and as I've modified it and ranked it up, it's taken on additional roles, which is pretty cool. So let's go through the skills really quickly first and kind of put these things into perspective as we go over to the warships after we go through all the skills, so I can show you what you should be looking at using with this flagship. So first off, we have the Oak Bow of Artemis. This is a kinetic weapon attack boost. This is going to increase your damage from kinetic weapons, and you can get kinetic weapons multiple different ways through not only your gear slots at the bottom, but also from your warships and which type of warship and which rank of warship you use. And we'll go through that after we go through the flagship itself, so you know what to use, because this is a big deal, especially as you kind of get to the mid game and you start having enough ships, enough warships to fill your flagships with the right type of warship. Number two here, shield defense, and these unlock as you continue to modify the flagship and start to rank up as well. Shield defense reduces range and increases defense of the deployed fleet by a substantial amount. 108 defense boost is very, very substantial. Now again, the warship range modifier, kind of whenever a battle starts, you'll lose a turn basically. Your opponent, if they have the normal warship range and you have a reduced one, you'll basically lose a turn of damage when you're going up against that target. It also, because it requires you to, when you engage, be closer, that's why you lose that turn. That's the way it's been explained to me. So this is something that's a big deal and something to kind of keep in mind. But when you're talking about different types of war situations inside of Infinite Galaxy, having range isn't necessarily the biggest deal, because especially with, as you'll see with this flagship, being tanky is really, really good for your overall outcome of a fight. So shield defense at level 2 for what I've got right now. Fortify frigate defense. Now this is where on a lot of the ships that you're going to be coming across, you're going to see them start to specialize not only in different damage types, but in different warship types. And that'll be another video for another day, but I wanted to show you what this guy can do. So we're going to go to that right after this final two skills here. Shield boost, again, increasing the defense, the tankiness of this flagship and everything inside of it. This also works for, well, this is for warships only, so this does not work for your campaign mode. So just got something to keep in mind. All right, this is for warships. This is not for flagships. Okay, now this is same thing. The third skill is for flagship, or for warships, not flagships. Same thing here, warships, not flagships. And then this is the damage you get from just in general your gear and also the warships that you make. Now finally, Fortify Frigate Core. Once I upgrade it to the next level, right now I believe I have it on level 4. I think I need 390 more Artemis blueprints to get him to the next level, to get him to rank 5. But once I do, I will unlock Fortify Frigate Core, which will increase the HP and movement speed, which is interesting because that's kind of what this flagship is for. And it's interesting because usually when you think of a super tanky troop type or super tanky army on a field, or in this case, again, flagships and warships on the field in space, you think slow. That's just not the case with this guy. Very interesting use case that I've had in battle with this guy already, and he's done really, really well. So that's the fifth one, and hopefully I should have that unlocked sometime this week as I continue to acquire the legendary flagship blueprint cores. So, and then again, you want to gear up because your first skill here is with kinetic weapons. To me, you want to gear up with all kinetic weapons here. So as you can see, I'm going heavy kinetic on my electromagnetic cannon, on my epic stuff here. As I continue to go up to epic, I should say, I want to continue with the kinetic damage bonuses because these are all going to continue to stack on top of the first skill that the Artemis gives me. So everything I've got is kinetic. Kinetic damage basically ignores all damage debuffs. So if there's a missile boat, right, those do really well against armor, I think. Or no, they do really well against shields, but they don't do well against armor. Whereas kinetic energy, they don't do really well against anything, but they don't also take a hit from anything either. They're just direct damage, no debuff, no buff, but no debuff, and you can really rely on that consistent damage going out. Now, again, as we saw here on the third skill and the fifth skill here, frigate bonuses are abounding on the Artemis. So what should we do for ships? So let's go into our shipbuilding. And let's look at frigates. So as of right now on tier 7, I have quite a few of these built up. In fact, I've got my entire leadership core, or my leadership amount for this Artemis loaded up with frigates. Now, why did I do that? So the tier 7 is using missile, which is not what I want, but tier 8 uses kinetic. It alternates by tier. So tier 9 will also use missiles. And then tier 10, which is what we're all working towards, uses kinetic. This is what you want with your Artemis. Every even tier of frigates for your flagship Artemis, you want to, if you want to maximize the benefits of all the skills, use even number tiered frigates inside of that fleet. Now, again, if you're early in the game, or even if you're early mid game, because this game can be very intense on your usage of ships when you're talking about fighting not only PvP, but you could also lose troops doing other things too. So you need to make sure that you're always pumping out warships whenever you are in the game, and then certainly speeding up during events like the Galaxy Star and things like that. So you want to make sure that you want to always be pumping out ships, but this is what you want to have. Ideally, you want frigates for the Artemis ship and using kinetic type damage, because that's going to give you the bonuses that you're going to get from the first skill, and then the extra frigate bonuses from the third and fifth skill of the Artemis. Now, what have been my impressions on using the Artemis in the field? First off, if you're using it the way I just described with all frigates, you are super fast. And again, that is just crazy to think, because this is a tanky type ship. You have bonuses to armor. You have bonuses to armor and shield for your warships. You have bonuses to shields. It's just nonstop bonuses to defensive capabilities. Whereas some of the other ships, like say the Theseus and obviously the legendary version of this, they go more HP, which is more of a defense. Armor and shield also defense. Warship attack bonuses. There's a lot of attack bonuses. So when you're talking about let's say Nemesis as well is another good example. Bonuses to laser damage, flagship damage ratio reduction, flagship attack, big bonuses to attack, big bonuses to range. Again, trying to get you that extra turn. So again, with the Artemis, everything is geared towards defense. All right. And with that being said, usually you don't have really heavy defense stuff. Or very fast, heavy defense stuff. It's always kind of slow and clunky, and this is not the case with the Artemis. It is super fast, super fast. I've chased down other fleets that were already halfway across a star system with the Artemis full frigates. Now, what's the downside to using full frigates in the Artemis? Well, Frigates do really well against cruisers. They have bonus damage to cruisers. But if you're going up against another commander that's got a flagship like the Hades or the epic version of that or the legendary version of that, you will probably run into some destroyer type laser damage type stuff. You may get absolutely dismantled and destroyed if you go up against something like that, because that is a heavy attack boat with basically anti-frigate technology. So if you're a heavy frigate on the Artemis, even with the extra defensive capabilities, you're still going to probably get ripped up pretty good. However, you can hold your own. And I will say this, the majority of the things that I've seen on the field PvP-wise have been either frigate or cruiser. I don't really see too many destroyer type boats out there very often. And that works to your advantage with the Artemis going full frigate, because you can catch up to people, take them down, and then jet back out. Also, the cool thing about the Artemis is you can use it as a scout boat. So when you're going over to another star system, if you're trying to dismantle an entire alliance worth of star system starports, you can go ahead of everybody else and go and tap those structures, the platforms, and start them burning a lot quicker than maybe somebody else who is even teleporting. Sometimes you can get there even before teleporting quickly. So I really like the Artemis. I think it's a great first ship if this is what you end up with at the beginning for a legendary ship. I think it does a lot of things really well, and a lot of things that you need to do early in the game to establish your alliance, and also just has multiple roles, which, again, I didn't think that would be the case. When I started with the Artemis, I was like, okay, this is my Richard Charles. That's basically what I thought this was going to be. I thought this was going to be my super tanky flagship fleet, and I'll just park it somewhere and have things just kind of bounce off me. That's not really what this is. This is a shock troop, super speedy, tanky flagship, and it does kind of operate that way inside of the campaign as well. Things that you go up against where it recommends that you have 500,000 more power on your flagship setup, it will beat because it's super tanky. You tank more defense and you still put out really good damage. So I really like the Artemis. If you guys have any comments, please throw them in the comment section below. I'm going to start expanding to other ships. One that I'm really interested in, because I've started to get some cruisers, is the Brontes, and then the legendary version of that, which is the Cyclops. I've not seen the Cyclops in game yet, so hopefully that unlocks. But the Brontes looks very good, and it's attack oriented, it's cruiser oriented. The range is really good on this stuff, but cruisers are super tanky. So I'm interested in having something like that as well. So I'm going to start expanding out to that. The Hades or Radamanthus here is really good, which is the Hades epic version. The Hades is the legendary version. These look really good too, but these are destroyer based. So we're always building flagships. You can really focus on what kind of, not building flagships, I'm sorry, building warships. We're always building warships here, and you can focus on one type of warship. You don't have to have all your warships spread out. Like, I don't have to have 2 frigates, 1 destroyer, and 1 cruiser going. I can have all on one type of warship to really escalate my capability to fill my flagship fleets up with the right warship type. So I think that's a good rundown. Also, again, I chose from a commander standpoint a generic one right now, because I don't I don't have as much warships as I want, because we just got through with a big, huge Nebula war, and I lost quite a few ships as we were fighting. But once I get back up, I will choose a flagship specialist or a kinetic damage specialist captain. But a good generic captain that I've put on Artemis right now is Yiling Ding, and she is attack bonus capable, and she also increases warship armor and warship shield, which is always helpful, and it's generic, so you don't have to worry about which type of warship you've got inside of your fleet. It buffs everything. So she's a really good one to have, and she's a legendary commander. There's plenty of other ones here that would work as well. I think Navigate Speed is another really good one here from Zhen Wenzhou. And there's a bunch of other ones here. I think even John Smith Connor would be a good one too, with increases attack of flagships in general. This is also a really good one. In fact, I may replace I may replace Eling Ding with John Connor. So those are the breakdowns of everything. You want to have maximum kinetic damage, maximum frigate warships inside of your fleet, and you want to really focus on your role, which to me in this case is a super tanky, super fast fighter that can catch up to running away fleets. It can catch up to, or it can go ahead of a main alliance force to start burning platforms that are empty. And again, can really start scouting around and doing a lot of things that slower cruiser-based fleets just can't do. So hope you've enjoyed. Hope it's been helpful. We'll continue this series for sure. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers. Have a good one. Take care.